Breaking news! The Los Angeles Rams continue to spark discussions across the internet. This time, it involves a controversial player, along with some new signings. A lot of fans are divided on this, and man, I want to know your opinion about it. First, I want to talk about Stefon Diggs. Man, this created a lot of controversy behind the scenes. Before I tell you all the details, make sure you've already hit the like button. But only do that if you've been an LA Rams fan for more than 2 decades. It's great seeing fans of all ages here. If possible, write this: Go Rams, whose house? Complete the rest. All right, now let's get into what everyone has been talking about. Recently, I watched a YouTube video, basically a report, suggesting the possibility of the Rams signing Stefon Diggs if certain situations around the league unfold. The idea behind it seems simple at first glance. Diggs is still a productive receiver. Last season, he reportedly finished with over 1,000 receiving yards and continued showing he can still contribute at a high level. The argument from the report is that Los Angeles could view him as a missing piece, especially as a WR3 option behind Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. And honestly, if you only look at the football side of things, it's easy to understand the excitement. Matthew Stafford throwing passes to Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, and Stefon Diggs immediately sounds dangerous on paper. The report even went as far as suggesting that adding Diggs could push the Rams into Super Bowl favorite territory. From a talent perspective, that sounds hard to ignore. But after seeing the reactions from Rams fans in the comments, the conversation took a completely different direction. What stood out most is that supporters were not really questioning Diggs as a player. Very few comments criticized his production or doubted whether he can still perform. The concern from fans was something entirely different: chemistry and locker room culture. Several comments repeated the same idea. Fans brought up his baggage, concerns about drama, emotional issues, and possible problems inside the locker room. One fan flat out said, "No way, we don't need that baggage." Another said, "The Rams don't need confusion in the locker room." And one comment really stood out by saying that longtime Rams fans know this organization usually avoids players with character concerns. That's what makes this interesting. Fans are not looking at this only through a talent lens. They're looking at the identity Sean McVay has built. There's a belief that this Rams locker room already has leadership, chemistry, and a strong culture. Puka Nacua has become a major presence. The team feels connected. And judging by the reactions, many fans are asking a simple question: why risk disrupting that? The overall feeling from the comments was clear. Rams fans aren't worried about whether Stefon Diggs can still play. They're worried about whether bringing him in creates problems that simply aren't worth the risk. Now, let's move on to another topic. Actually, this is one of the biggest topics Rams fans could end up discussing all season long, because there's already a growing feeling that Los Angeles may have received a very important advantage before the season has even started. Last season, Rams fans remember exactly how frustrating one particular moment was. When the Rams hosted the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football, the atmosphere inside SoFi Stadium became one of the biggest storylines of the game. Instead of feeling like a home game, there were so many 49ers fans in attendance that parts of the stadium felt overwhelmingly supportive of the visiting team. For Rams fans, that's never easy to watch. A divisional rivalry already comes with pressure, emotion, and intensity. But when your biggest rival starts creating road game conditions inside your own stadium, that creates a completely different challenge. And now, something fascinating has happened. This season, these NFC West rivals will face each other once again, but under completely different circumstances. The Rams and the 49ers are scheduled to meet in the season opener in Melbourne. Right away, conversations started spreading throughout the football world. Would this just be another international matchup, or was there something more behind it? Because some observers are beginning to wonder if Los Angeles may have actually preferred this setup precisely to avoid what happened last year at SoFi Stadium from happening again. Think about that for a moment. In the NFL, home field advantage is real. Players talk about it constantly. Coaches understand it. Crowd energy changes the pace of the game. Noise impacts communication. Fan emotion can completely shift the atmosphere inside a stadium. So, If there was any chance to prevent San Francisco from recreating what some fans jokingly called Levi's South, it's easy to understand why this story is getting attention. Of course, nobody is saying games are won simply because of fan attendance. Talent still decides results. Preparation still matters. Execution still matters. But every advantage counts in the NFL. Every small edge matters when you're competing in one of the toughest divisions in football. And speaking of advantages, there may be another factor that quietly worked in Los Angeles' favor. According to reports from the NFL meetings, San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan wanted his team to play on Monday Night Football after dealing with travel difficulties early in the season. Instead, things unfolded very differently. The NFL gave the Rams a Monday Night Football game against the New York Giants, while San Francisco will play a day earlier, at home, against the Miami Dolphins. At first glance, some fans might think this isn't a big deal, but longtime NFL fans know exactly how important schedule details can be. One extra day for recovery, one extra day for preparation, one less day dealing with travel fatigue. Over the course of a season, small details become big storylines. The difference between teams is often incredibly small. We've seen playoff spots decided by a single game. We've seen division titles come down to the final week. So if Los Angeles and San Francisco end up battling for positioning later in the year, there's a chance fans will look back and wonder whether the Rams quietly received a valuable advantage from the league early in the season. But there's another story Rams fans shouldn't ignore, because Week 4 already has all the ingredients for a fascinating reunion. The Rams are heading to Philadelphia, and a very familiar face will be waiting for them on the other side of the field. Shaun Mannion. Yes, that Shaun Mannion. Longtime Rams fans remember him immediately. He was originally drafted during the Jeff Fisher era and remained with the organization after Sean McVay arrived, spending several years around the team as Jared Goff's backup quarterback. While fans did not regularly see him making headlines on Sundays, Mannion spent years inside the Rams organization, absorbing knowledge and building relationships. And now he finds himself in a major role with the Eagles as their offensive coordinator. That creates an extremely interesting layer to this matchup, because familiarity creates questions. How much knowledge from those years together helps Philadelphia? How much insight does Mannion possess from his time learning around Sean McVay? And perhaps more importantly, how much does McVay already understand about Mannion after all those years together? The NFL becomes a chess match very quickly, and early in seasons, offenses often are not operating at full speed. Timing still develops. Adjustments continue happening. Teams are still discovering strengths and weaknesses. That could make this game even more unpredictable because strategic preparation may become just as important as talent on the field. This suddenly feels like much more than Rams versus Eagles. This feels like shared history becoming competition, former teammates becoming opponents, relationships becoming strategy. And the season does not get easier from there, because another major challenge is waiting later that could define the entire NFC West race. What do you think, Rams fans? Did the Rams quietly receive an early advantage from the NFL? Or are people reading too much into these developments?